Welcome, my dear students in Prep 3. Today we'll start the first lesson in Unit 2. This lesson is about ratio and proportion. You studied before the meaning of the ratio in Primary 6. Let's revise this. The ratio is one of the methods we use to compare between two quantities. The two quantities are from the same type and have the same units. But in this comparison, we use division. So we use division to compare between two quantities. Okay, for example, if we have two quantities, A and B, they are two real numbers, then the ratio between A and B will be A over B. We can write it A over B or A to B. This is the ratio between the two quantities A and B. So A and B is called the two terms of the ratio. A is the first term, B is the second term. So A is the first term and B is the second term. The first term, we call it antecedent. Okay, the first term is called antecedent. The second term is called consequent. So we have antecedent and consequent. The first term is called antecedent. The second term, which is B here, is called consequent. Also, we studied the properties of the ratio, and we said that if you have a ratio and we multiply the first and second term by the same number, in this case the ratio doesn't change. For example, if you have the ratio 3 to 5 and you multiply 3 and 5, both of them by the same number, which is 6, it will be 3 times 6 to 5 times 6. 3 times 6 is 18 and 5 times 6 is 30. The ratio 18 over 30 is the same as the ratio 3 over 5. So if you have a ratio and you multiply or divide both terms by the same number, in this case the value of the ratio doesn't change. But the ratio changes if you add or subtract to both of the terms, okay, a non-zero real number. Okay, except if the ratio is 1. If you have the ratio, any ratio except 1, this ratio will be changed if you add or subtract from both terms a non-zero real number. So just multiply or divide both terms. In this case, the ratio doesn't change. But if you add or subtract, the ratio will change. For example, if you have the ratio 3 to 4, if you add 1 to 3, it will be 4. 4 over, if you add 1 to 4, it will be 5. 4 over 5 doesn't equal 3 over 4. Okay, so if you want to keep the value of the ratio as it is without changing, in this case, just multiply or divide both terms by the same number. What about proportion? Also, we studied before proportion, and we said that proportion is the equality of two or more ratios. For example, here we have the first ratio A over B equal the second ratio C over D. This is a proportion. This is the equality of two ratios. The equality of two or more ratios is called proportion. Okay, so here we have a proportion, and we said that the four numbers are proportional. A, B, C, and D. The four numbers are proportional, and we call them. Okay, A is the first proportional, B is the second proportional, C the third, and D the fourth. And vice versa, if A and B and C and D are proportional, it means that A over B equals C over D. Okay, so if you have two equal ratios, this is called proportion. The first proportional here is A, the second is B, the third is C, and the fourth is D. So we have first proportional, second proportional, third and fourth. First, second, third, and fourth proportional. Okay. The two terminal numbers here, A and D, are called extremes, and the two numbers in the middle are called means. So we have A and D are called extremes, and B and C called means. So we have means and extremes. And we studied in proportional that the product of means equals the product of extremes. Let's talk about properties of proportion. The first property, that if you have a proportion A over B equals C over D, it means that, as we said before, product of means equals product of extremes. So A times D equals B times C. Okay, the product of extremes equals the product of means. This is the first property. Let's take this exercise. If the quantities x, 23, 15, 69 are proportional, find the value of x. Here we said before, the product of means equals the product of extremes. It means 69 times x equals 23 times 15. Then I'll solve this equation. Okay, so x, this is x, equals 23 times 15 over 69. So x will be 5. Okay, you can try it yourself. It depends on that the product of extremes equals the product of means. Okay, let's solve this exercise. Choose the correct answer. The third proportional for the quantities 2, 4, 20 is third proportion. It means here. So I have 2, 4, and the third proportion, then 20. Okay, in this case we have the product of extremes and we don't have the product of means. The product of extremes equals the product of means. So 4x equals 2 times 20. 2 times 20, it means 40. 4x equals 40. Then I'll solve the equation to get that x equals 40 over 4, which is 10. So the first one will be 10. The second one, the fourth proportional of the numbers 4, 12, 16. I want the fourth, so the number is here after 16. By the same way, 4x equals 12 times 16. Okay, so 4 times x equals 12 times 16. It means x will be 12 times 16 over 4. I'll divide by the coefficient of x, and here the same. The coefficient of x is 4, so 2 times 20 over 4. So here we want x, 12 times 16 over 4. It will be 48, so I'll choose 48. Number 3, if 2x, 4, and 6 are proportional, then x. How can I find x? By the same way, 2 times 6, then over 4. 4 is the coefficient of x. 2 times 6 equals 12. 12 over 4 is 3. So I'll choose 3. Let's try another exercise. Find the number that if you add to the two terms of the ratio 17 to 22, I'll add it to the two terms of the ratio 17 to 22, the result will be 6 to 7. It means I have 17 over 22. Okay, if I add a number, for example assume this number is x, I'll add it to both terms. So here plus x, and I'll add it also here to 22 plus x. Okay, if you add this number to the both sides of the ratio, it will be 6/7. So this is our equation. We want to solve this equation to get the value of x. This is a proportional. If this is a proportion, so I'll multiply product of means equal product of extremes. It means 6 times 22 plus x equals 7 times 17 plus x. Okay, let's do it together. I'll multiply 6 times 22 plus x equals 7 times 17 plus x. Okay, let's solve this equation. Here we have 119 plus 7x, 7 times 17, then 7 times x. 7 times 17 equals 119. 7 times x equals 7x. And the right hand side, 6 times 22 equals 132. 6 times x equals 6x. Here we have 7x, and here we have 6x. So 7x minus 6x equals 132 minus 119. I'll solve this equation to get the value of x. The value of x will be 13. So the number 16, if you add it to both sides or both terms, of the ratio 17 to 22, it will be 6/7. Okay, if you want to check your answers, let's try. Here we have 17. Okay, 17 plus, we said x is 13, over 22 plus 13 equals, yes, you can do it yourself. Here we have 17 plus 13 equals what? Equals 30. So here we have 30. Okay, 22 plus 13, it will be 35. We can simplify this ratio. Divide by 5. If you divide up and down by 5, it will be 6/7. This is the same ratio here. Okay, so our answer is right. Let's take another exercise. Find the number that if we subtract from both terms of the ratio 5/6, it will be 3/2. By the same way, but here subtract. So I have 5/6. I want a number if I subtract from both sides. So I here minus x. I'll assume this number is x. Here minus x. If I subtract it from both sides, the result will be 3/2. By the same way, product of extremes equal product of mean. So 3 times 6 minus x equals 2 times 5 minus x. By the same way, and I'll solve the equation. Okay, 3 times 6 minus x, it means 3 times 6, and then minus 3 times x. And by the same way, 2 times 5 minus 2 times x. So we have 18 minus 3x equals 10 minus 2x. Okay, so 18 minus 10, I'll move it to the right hand side, equals -2 plus 3x, or 3 minus 2x. So x will be 8. So x is 8. And again, if you want to check your answers, let's just try to check our answer here. What can we do? Let's try. Here x equals 8. We said x equals 8. So I have here 5 I have 5 minus 8 over 6 minus 8. 5 minus 8 equals negative 3. And 6 minus 8 equals negative 2. So I have negative 3 over negative 2. It means 3 over 2. So this is the ratio here. Okay? So our answer is right. Okay? Today we studied the ratio and the proportion. In this first part, we studied properties of ratio and some of the properties of proportion. We will continue next session, part 2 from this lesson, ratio and proportion. I hope you have understand our session today. See you next session. Thank you and goodbye.